Ginkgo College. So, I want to start by talking about one of the most fundamental problems in education that we face as teachers. For decades, the research has shown that students perform better academically when they are given more individual attention from their teacher. And this is true across every single academic subject and across every single age level. If you want to take a student and have them perform better, you can put them in a smaller class size, they will do better. And if you want to take that student and make them do really well, you can pull them out of class altogether and give them a private tutor. And we know this. And we know that this is the best way of teaching you. And if we could, we would be giving every single student their own teacher. But as you know, that is not possible. There's not enough teachers out there for all of you. And even if there were, we don't have enough money to pay all of them. That's just the reality that we live in. However, with some of the advances in AI technology, it is shifting this reality, and it is making a personal tutor for everybody possible. Now in the USA, we have had open AI, open access AI for a few years now. And in that time, the Department of Education and tech companies have been working together to train an AI model that can act as a private tutor for students. And these models are pretty remarkable. What they can do right now, currently this year, they're capable of breaking problems down, step by step, explaining complicated problems. They're capable of talking to you one-on-one and figuring out the mistakes and misunderstandings that you're having. And they can even adjust their style of teaching to fit your style of learning. So I'm going to give you a quick example of how these AI chatbot tutors work. This is an online homework set for a 6th grade math class. For us, this is going to be very easy math, but for the student, it requires them to be able to solve and know the order of operations. So, this is pretty basic stuff. There's nothing new here, except this course has now integrated in an AI chatbot that the student can use to help him solve this problem. And if the student asks for help, the student asks the chatbot to help them break down the problem. The chatbot will do just that. It will start by guiding the student to complete the first step of the problem. It will ask the student to add the numbers in parentheses, add 3 plus 2. If the student gets the answer right, the chatbot will confirm that the student is right and then guide the student on to the next part of the problem. Square the 5, get 25, and the chatbot will give the student the last part of the problem, and the student gets the answer. Now you'll notice that this chatbot is not doing the work for the student. It's not a cheating tool. Instead, it's just doing what any tutor would do. It's breaking the problem down step by step, and at every step of the way, it's pulling the student in. It's asking concept-checking questions. It's asking the student to actually complete the work himself, just like a tutor. But it can do a lot more than that. I'm going to switch the problem and give you a different example now. This math problem requires the student to test their knowledge of distributive properties, 4z minus negative 3z. And in this case, the student has actually gotten the wrong answer. They've answered 1z. Normally, in these online programs, The website will tell the student whether they got the answer right or wrong, but it won't tell them why. It's up to the student to figure out what their problem was. But now this student can ask the chatbot to check his work. And the chatbot, when it responds, actually does something really remarkable. First, it does two things. It asks the student to explain the logic. How did you get to that answer? And second, it asks the student a question. What happens when you subtract a negative? This chatbot is able to look at the student's answer, 1Z, and then from that answer, the chatbot figures out that this student doesn't understand distributive properties. If they answered 1Z, it means they probably don't know what happens when you subtract a negative. The chatbot is able to have a conversation with the student, and from that conversation, figure out in its mind what the student's misconception is. But let's say that this student still doesn't understand. They don't understand what happens when you subtract the negative. That's fine too. They can back away from the problem for a second and just have a one-on-one conversation with the chatbot, just like you would with your teacher. This student asks the question, what happens when you subtract the negative? And why does that happen? And the chatbot gives this amazing response. It explains the math rule. This chatbot gives an amazing response. It explains the math rule. It refers the students to a video that gives some examples, and then it relates the math rule back to the original problem. But if this student still doesn't understand, because these math rules are not always intuitive to us, the student can then ask the chatbot to explain it in a different way. This student asks the chatbot, can you give me a real-world example? And the chatbot pulls out this amazing analogy about how subtracting a negative is the same as forgiving a debt. So to recap, this chatbot is acting just like a teacher. It's breaking the problems down step by step. It's figuring out what the student's mistakes are in their own mind. And it's even adjusting its learning style. It's adjusting its teaching style to match the learning style of that student. And if this student continues talking to the chatbot, this chatbot is going to remember the conversations that they had. It's going to remember that this student learns best with real-world examples. So this student, just by having a conversation with the chatbot, is teaching it to teach. It's teaching the chatbot its learning style. Now, we have only had these chatbots in schools for about a year now. There's not a lot of data on them. However, the research that has been done has been really promising. In schools, where students are using chatbots to help them with their homework and their coursework, students are performing better on their standardized tests. This is true at every single subject, and at every single age level, students are performing better. Additionally, when we ask them about their study habits, we're finding that these students are spending less time studying. They're getting these better results while studying less. And we can even ask the students themselves. These students are saying that chatbots are making them better learners. So AI is already having a really remarkable effect on students and how they learn. And this chatbot is only about a year old. Given the pace that AI is progressing, this chatbot is going to look like a toy compared to what we'll have in just a few years. Right now in the USA, there are some companies that are training AI systems to help students in some really creative and innovative ways. Take, for example, Elicit. This is an AI platform that can answer research questions. You ask it a research question, and Elicit will search through hundreds of thousands of academic articles and scientific journals. and it will answer your research question, and these answers have been tested by humans. They are reliable. If you are a language learner, you might know about the popular app Duolingo. This is an app to help students build their vocabulary through grammar exercises. Duolingo has now added an AI component called Duolingo Max, and this is a chatbot that can talk. If you want, and you have Duolingo Max, you can have a one-on-one conversation with a talking chatbot in the language that you're studying. And you can adjust the level of that chatbot so it matches your knowledge of the language. And you might know about the website Quizlet. This is a website that students use to share their resources from class, like PPTs and textbooks. Quizlet has now added a new feature called Magic Notes that is capable of creating study guides based on your classroom materials. If you're a student, you can upload your textbook, you can upload your PPTs from class, and you can even upload a video of your professor giving a lecture. Quizlet will take that information and from it create an entire study guide with flashcards, with writing prompts, and even with a sample test. So, while all of this is really interesting and really impressive, the thing that makes this technology so powerful is how affordable it is to implement and how it's completely open access. Because once schools have set up an AI system and an AI tutor, it is very cheap, it is very inexpensive for them to scale it up. And any student can access this. Any student can get a private tutor, including students that have been underserved before. Students that came from a poor family or lived near a failing school district, they're going to be able to access their own personal teacher. They're going to be able to access this really high quality level of education. And that's where we're headed. And this is not some science fiction thing that's going to happen 50 years in the future. It's happening right now because AI is making that possible. Thank you.